The clear and beautiful sound of a bell echoed across the great desert, spreading from the distant horizon all the way to Imperial Pass. Although the sound itself was not loud, everyone in Imperial Pass felt terrified when they heard it, because they knew it came from the ancient war chariot of undying King Anlan. His name had shaken the 9 heavens 10 earths for countless years, and his reputation had been built upon the corpses of countless powerful enemies. Those who had once been capable of fighting him had already died in previous great eras, leaving no one in the 9 heavens confident enough to face him now. The golden-backed barbaric bull slowly pulled Anlan's ancient war chariot across the great desert. Its body was massive and powerful, surrounded by chaotic energy, while the golden horns shone brilliantly. Every step of its hooves seemed to strike directly at the hearts of the people in Imperial Pass. Behind Anlan was an endless foreign army, densely packed like a black flood and stretching across the desert without end. The entire great desert trembled under their advance. The people of Imperial Pass questioned why Anlan dared to cross the desolate border despite the blood oath that had supposedly been established when Shi Hao was handed over. However, the foreign experts openly mocked them, declaring that no undying king would randomly establish an oath with beings they considered insignificant. They revealed that the blood previously presented had merely come from a deceased half-king and had been enough to deceive the people of Imperial Pass. Another undying existence even stated that if they were merely ants, there was no reason to deceive them at all and that they could simply be killed. These words left the people of the 9 heavens furious and humiliated. But they could do nothing because their strength was inferior. As Anlan's chariot gradually approached the center of Heaven Abyss, the pressure became increasingly terrifying. At that moment, a powerful roar came from above Heaven Abyss, declaring that the heaven-shaking battle had arrived. Then, the legendary original Emperor City suddenly appeared in the sky. The ancient city descended with an enormous shadow, covering the sun and releasing endless immortal light and immortal Tao symbols. Its terrifying killing intent shook the past, present, and future, illuminating the entire world. The appearance of the legendary city gave the people of Imperial Pass a final hope that Anlan could finally be stopped. However, Anlan personally made his move for the first time. A single hand slowly extended from his ancient war chariot and reached toward the sky. Although the movement was extremely slow, it contained unimaginable power. Endless immortal Tao symbols descended, primal chaos erupted, and terrifying killing intent surged from Heaven Abyss. Yet none of it could injure Anlan's hand. With only one hand, he forcibly supported the entire original Emperor City. No matter how much immortal light descended upon him, his hand remained completely steady and refused to retreat. Even the legendary Emperor City was unable to suppress him. The defenders of Imperial Pass were horrified because the city they had regarded as their greatest hope could not stop Anlan's advance. The elders inside the ancient city then prepared to fight with everything they had left. Several elders appeared and surrounded a flame formed from the bones of an undying being. The bones were burning under the restriction of a formation, continuously releasing undying essence energy. They intended to use this final power to break the stalemate and attack Anlan. The ancient Emperor City began shining even more intensely, especially at its center, where an enormous beam of light pierced through Heaven Abyss and released terrifying immortal might. Shi Hao stood silently on the walls of Imperial Pass, but his heart was filled with pain because he understood what was happening. The only remaining king inside the ancient city was using his ruined body to support the city and transfer the strongest power of Heaven Abyss against Anlan. Heaven Abyss itself began burning, releasing vast amounts of immortal energy that transformed into countless symbols and merged with its ancient inscriptions. Immortal Tao laws descended one after another like world-shaking divine rainbows, carrying enough power to destroy everything in their path. At this critical moment, 5 decrees appeared behind Anlan one after another. Each decree radiated an aura belonging to an undying king, and their combined power sealed the surrounding heaven and earth. The 5 decrees transformed into 5 enormous hands, joining Anlan's own hand to suppress Heaven Abyss. The confrontation reached an unimaginable level. Heaven and earth repeatedly shone before being destroyed again, while the area around Heaven Abyss became filled with primal chaos. This was a battle between the highest levels of existence, far beyond what ordinary cultivators could comprehend. Eventually, the battlefield became completely silent. When the chaos gradually cleared, The Great Desert remained intact because Anlan had concentrated the destructive power above Heaven Abyss and prevented it from spreading toward the surrounding foreign army. The people of the Nine Heavens then realized the terrifying truth: Anlan was not fighting alone. The 5 decrees represented the strength of other undying kings, who were joining him to suppress the supreme immortal Tao laws of Heaven Abyss. For a time, everything became completely motionless. Anlan's hand continued to support the original Emperor city, while the enormous beam of light at the city's center also stopped. Heaven Abyss itself seemed to have entered a state of absolute stillness. However, everyone understood that this was only a temporary balance. Once the stalemate was broken, the resulting destruction could shake the world and bring an entire era toward its end. On the walls of Imperial Pass, a group of children appeared. They had sensed the fluctuations of the ancient city where they had once lived and understood what was happening. They cried while looking toward the distant city, realizing that they were about to be separated from their clansmen forever. They repeatedly called out to the elders they regarded as their grandfathers and begged the people of the Stone Clan to bring them back to the city's experts. The children were eventually brought to Imperial Pass, where they continued crying and calling out to their clansmen. Above them, the one-armed elder and several other ancient elders made their final decision. Their bodies had long been crippled, and the Tao laws within them had caused severe injuries that could never be healed. Despite this, their hearts remained unyielding. They carried the burning bones of the undying being and charged directly toward Anlan's enormous hand like moths flying into a flame. They intended to sacrifice their own lives, ignite their ruined bodies together with the immortal bones, and use the resulting explosion of power to break Anlan's control and move his hand. The children on the walls cried out desperately for the one-armed elder, calling him Grandpa and Single-Armed Grandpa. Although these elders were not their actual grandfathers, they had protected the children for generations and treated them with deep kindness despite their strict appearances. The elders had already endured countless injuries and carried the burden left behind by the deceased kings. Yet they refused to retreat. They were determined to continue fighting until the very last person fell and the final drop of blood was exhausted. Shi Hao watched them with tears and blurred vision as the white-haired elders, their bodies covered in wounds and blood, made their final charge. Their ruined bodies ignited in the sky and exploded into brilliant blood-red flames. The burning immortal bones also shattered and scattered in all directions. However, even after sacrificing their lives and exhausting every last trace of their strength, they still failed to move Anlan's enormous hand. The one-armed elder and the other elders died in the attempt, their blood splashing across the heavens like brief, tragic fireworks. Their deaths demonstrated their determination to protect the ancient city and the Nine Heavens until the very end. On the walls of Imperial Pass, the children could only watch helplessly as the elders they loved disappeared, crying out in grief for their grandpas as the final sacrifice came to an end. The final sparks were released, and the single-armed elder and the other elders died. On Imperial Pass, the children collapsed in grief, crying for the grandpas who had sacrificed themselves. But their deaths did not weaken the survivors' conviction or determination. At that moment, the golden-backed barbaric bull moved again, pulling Anlan's ancient war chariot toward Heaven Abyss while Anlan used one hand to support the original Emperor city. His overwhelming power made everyone on Imperial Pass feel despair, and the billions of soldiers of the other side roared for the undying king as their army parted to let the war chariot pass. Seeing that Anlan was about to break the balance and cross Heaven Abyss, the people of Imperial Pass realized that without true immortals or supreme experts capable of matching him, they had almost no chance of resisting. However, remembering how the people of the original Imperial Pass had sacrificed their lives without hesitation, many experts refused to retreat. They prepared to fight with everything they had, even if death was inevitable. At this moment, Elder Qing Mu, the former owner of the Five Spirits war chariot and Qi Hong's master, stepped forward and stopped everyone. Although his blood energy had already withered with age, he remained an unmatched supreme being who had once been extremely powerful. He decided to leave Imperial Pass and fight Anlan alone. Elder Qing Mu explained that they had to activate an ancient monument ahead of time, because once Anlan completely crossed Heaven Abyss, they would lose their final opportunity. Meng Tianzheng wanted to fight alongside him, but Elder Qing Mu refused, ordering him to remain and oversee Imperial Pass. The other supreme beings eventually brought the ancient monument to him. Elder Qing Mu carried it out of Imperial Pass, At first, the monument was only about the height of a person, but as he advanced, it grew increasingly enormous and imposing, becoming like a mountain on his back. When he reached a certain point, the monument left his body and towered into the clouds. Elder Cheng Mu straightened his back, looked back at Imperial Pass one last time, and then continued forward without turning around again, knowing that this would be his final battle. Shi Hao cried out for his master. Elder Cheng Mu then activated the Immortal Subduing Monument, an ancient forbidden monument from the immortal ancient era that was rumored to be capable of killing true immortals and destroying undying creatures. Although activating it would exhaust its magical power, he treated his own life as an offering, causing his blood energy to surge as he charged toward Anlan's war chariot. The monument became pitch black and covered in bloody traces, with countless symbols representing immortal Tao laws shining upon it. The experts of the other side tried to stop him, but the golden-backed barbaric bull dismissed them, saying that an old monument and an ant were not enough to threaten an undying king. The others therefore remained still, allowing the monument to approach. Imperial Pass people watched nervously, placing their final hope in the attack. The Immortal Subduing Monument descended with terrifying power, while Elder Cheng Mu followed it, his entire body covered in blood as he continued sacrificing himself to activate it. However, Anlan remained completely unmoved. Instead, the ancient war chariot itself erupted with power. Its surface was covered with traces from countless battles, including blade marks and arrow holes, and these traces interwove with Tao patterns before striking the monument. The Immortal Subduing Monument was shattered into several pieces before it could reach Anlan, while Elder Cheng Mu's body was cut apart and exploded into a bloody mist. Dying instantly, the golden-backed barbaric bull mocked his death, and even the abnormal phenomena normally produced when a supreme being died were destroyed by the war chariot's Tao patterns. Imperial Pass fell into deeper despair because even its trump card had failed, leaving no one capable of stopping Anlan. The oldest supreme being of Imperial Pass then revealed that they still had one final card, the first killing formation. However, Meng Tianzheng pointed out that they did not possess the complete formation. This ancient killing formation was rumored to be the greatest formation in existence, having been naturally created by the world across countless eras. And Imperial Pass possessed only a damaged formation diagram. The oldest supreme being, whose body was covered in layers of dust from having been sealed for an extremely long time, activated the damaged diagram. Countless formation banners and formation cores emerged from Imperial Pass, and hundreds of famous experts stood behind the banners, using their own essence, blood and strength to power the formation. The ancient supreme being himself sat atop the damaged diagram and sacrificed his own life to activate it. The formation unleashed unmatched power and attacked Anlan. For the first time, Anlan moved, extending one finger and striking into the void. A tremendous explosion followed, destroying the formation cores, banners, and the experts supporting them. They all exploded into bloody mist, while the ancient supreme being let out a long sigh before turning into a rain of light, his body and spirit completely erased. The golden-backed barbaric bull laughed and declared that the ants had been completely obliterated, pushing Imperial Pass into utter despair. Yet Anlan's use of his other hand caused the original Emperor city above him to become unstable and shake violently. At the center of the city, the final surviving member of the Seven Kings seized the opportunity to exert his strength, causing the sky to shake and heaven abyss to erupt once more. The deepest immortal Tao laws descended and bombarded Anlan. Anlan resisted with tremendous force while continuing to support the ancient city. And the 5 decrees once again erupted with everlasting undying power. In a trance, 5 undying kings appeared to roar and join forces to destroy Heaven Abyss. Heaven Abyss was violently torn apart, creating a massive crack. The battle had reached a level beyond imagination, with even the highest immortal Tao laws being ripped open. Immortal light surged through the crack, and a great river appeared, unleashing terrifying power that disrupted the order of heaven and earth. Even the long river of time emerged, shocking the undying beings on the other side. The golden-backed barbaric bull initially mocked them again, but then became silent when it sensed the danger. It remembered that battles at this supreme level could trigger terrifying events beyond the expectations of the undying kings. Suddenly, following the cracks in Heaven Abyss, an enormous cauldron appeared. It crossed the long river of time and descended directly onto desolate border, crushing the surroundings with terrifying might. Giant stars rose and fell around it, while vast life source energy surged inside. Its walls were forged from immortal gold and stained with blood, and the stars of the heavens seemed to flicker around its opening as though everything could be swallowed into it. Even the undying existences were shocked by the appearance of a cauldron emerging from the river of time. Its immense pressure shook the great desert, and the golden-backed barbaric bull trembled as one of its leg bones broke, forcing it to kneel in the desert. Then someone noticed that there was a figure standing atop the cauldron. The person had an imposing figure, his back facing everyone, his body covered in blood as though he had just survived another devastating battle in a different time-space. He stood like a heavenly emperor overlooking the mortal world, having crossed the long river of time and arrived directly on desolate border. The gate of time-space opened, and a vast cauldron emerged, floating above the golden great desert and covering the heavens and earth. Everyone was shocked by the sudden appearance of the mysterious figure above it, including the undying existences, because an outsider had unexpectedly entered the battlefield in such a grand manner. Blood poured from the cracks of heaven abyss, including the blood of the mysterious figure and the blood essence of his opponent from another spacetime. The cauldron's aura swallowed the sun and moon, while countless great stars revolved around its opening, all stained red with blood, showing that an extraordinary battle had taken place. Suddenly, a massive claw reached out from the heaven abyss crack and attacked the figure above the cauldron. The figure remained calm, facing the enemy alone, and his body erupted with brilliant light and overwhelming power. He threw a fist directly at the claw, causing primal chaos to surge as the claw was heavily injured and forced back. The claw then shrank before striking again, revealing a gigantic golden-scaled vicious beast that transformed into a humanoid figure clad in green gold armor, with only a pair of green eyes visible beneath the armor. The two experts ignored everyone below and focused entirely on each other. Filled with intense killing intent, their battle was extremely fast, with time power surging around them. The cauldron shrank and shot forward like lightning, while the green gold armored creature blocked it with his divine abilities and boundless magical force. Their clash shook the long river of time so violently that it nearly collapsed and changed its course, causing the undying creatures below to become deeply alarmed. Everyone was stunned and wondered who these two were, where they came from, and which era they belonged to. It became clear that they did not belong to the current time-space because they had emerged through the gate of time. Some people understood that the highest-level battle in Desolate Border, where the Undying Kings were attempting to break apart Heaven Abyss, had coincided with another supreme battle taking place in a different time-space. The clashes between peak existences had pierced a mysterious boundary between time-spaces, causing the long river of time to surge and bring the two combatants into the present battlefield. This was an extremely rare phenomenon that had previously existed only in ancient records. Now, both the Foreign Army and Imperial Pass forces witnessed it personally. The two supreme experts fought so intensely that every movement caused flowing light and the years themselves to surge, with their attacks possessing terrifying destructive power. Eventually, the heavenly emperor-like figure activated the great cauldron and smashed it into the green gold armored creature, causing him to cough blood and fly toward the heaven abyss crack. His chest was badly injured despite the protection of his unmatched armor. Everyone below was horrified by the cauldron's overwhelming power, realizing that an ordinary opponent struck by such an attack would have been completely annihilated. The figure standing on the cauldron immediately pursued him, moving beyond the limits of time and appearing like a heavenly emperor descending into the mortal world. Seeing this, some foreign undying existences secretly asked Anlan whether they should intervene and kill the mysterious figure while he was distracted. However, Anlan finally responded, stating that the two did not belong to the same time and had appeared because of mysterious heavenly circumstances. He ordered them to let the two come and leave without interfering, because clashing with someone from another time could cause unimaginable consequences when the long river of time erupted. Meanwhile, the figure on the cauldron reached out and grabbed the green gold armored creature's back. The creature suddenly turned around and roared repeatedly, shouting, "Kill!" 5 times as heaven and earth collapsed and the river of time seemed ready to change its course. The cauldron then flew above heaven abyss, blocking the crack and suppressing the long river of time so that it could not change its path. This caused Anlan, who had previously remained indifferent to everything, to finally reveal a change in his eyes, because the two should have left and continued their battle elsewhere. Yet the figure on the cauldron had chosen to remain and finish the battle here. The green-gold armor shone with terrifying brilliance as his killing aura shook the past and present, making everyone below tremble despite the separation between timespaces. For the first time, the figure on the cauldron spoke, although his language could not be understood because it did not belong to the current time-space. The supreme Tao laws allowed everyone to comprehend the meaning of his words. When facing the enemy, one needs to march forward. The 9 words transformed into 9 spheres of light, which merged together and erupted with immense power, forming an ultimate secret technique that instantly broke through all obstacles. The green-gold armored creature was struck and spat out blood. Staggering backward, the figure on the cauldron pursued him relentlessly, grabbed his body, and violently tore him apart. With a single attack, the green-gold armored creature was ripped into 2, including his primordial spirit. The cauldron then shone brilliantly, releasing streams of stars and absorbing the opponent's corpse and blood. A world-shaking battle had just occurred, yet everyone remained deeply shocked by the mysterious expert who had suddenly appeared. Blood rain still fell from the sky, powerful enough to burn the stars and sever starry streams. The great cauldron above the battlefield absorbed the scattered blood essence and some of the stars, refining the remaining blood until only faint red traces remained. Standing atop the ancient cauldron, the mysterious man slowly descended. He was tall and imposing, with black hair flowing down, deep eyes, and an extraordinary aura. The cauldron was ancient and simple, forged from various types of immortal gold and containing tremendous life source energy. Stars moved around it, while stellar streams surged above its opening. His body was covered in blood, both his own and that of his enemies, showing that even such a powerful existence had been seriously wounded. The cauldron itself bore countless marks from blades, swords, arrows, and other supreme weapons, indicating that it had participated in numerous terrifying battles and had only recently been damaged. As its self-healing ability was gradually restoring the traces, the army from the other side immediately became tense because this unexpected expert was a major variable. They had been preparing to tear open Heaven Abyss, but his sudden appearance could completely change the situation. On Imperial Pass, everyone watched anxiously, while an important figure warned that their fate could not be entrusted to another. If the mysterious expert was willing to fight, that would be welcome, but because the two sides belonged to different timespaces, a real clash could produce unpredictable consequences. In the Great Desert, Anlan finally spoke publicly for the first time, calmly telling the mysterious man that he should leave. Despite facing various attacks, Anlan had remained indifferent until this mysterious expert appeared. The man on the cauldron did not answer and continued descending. His true appearance was obscured by mist, but his body radiated the vigorous life force of someone in his prime, while his eyes seemed capable of seeing through all ages and fate itself. His overwhelming pressure even affected Anlan's golden-backed barbaric bull. The ancient beast's bones continuously cracked under the pressure until all 4 of its leg bones broke, forcing it to collapse onto the ground and tremble. This was especially shocking because the bull had previously been arrogant and contemptuous toward Imperial Pass, relying on Anlan's prestige. Now, however, it was terrified before the mysterious expert. Everyone wondered whether this was a direct provocation toward the undying King Anlan. Anlan remained calm, explaining that the two of them could not truly fight, since Heaven Abyss had been torn open and their peak battles in different time spaces had opened the gate of time. Further interference could cause enormous changes to both time spaces and the worlds behind them. The war chariot suddenly erupted with chaotic energy, illuminating the entire world, and Anlan finally manifested himself completely. He supported the original Emperor city with one hand and held a golden ancient spear in the other. The spear had previously pierced the heavenly horned ant and other immortal kings, displaying unparalleled might across the ages. Anlan stood surrounded by brilliant radiance and confidently declared that even while carrying Heaven Abyss and supporting the original Emperor city, he remained unmatched in this world. The mysterious man then stated that he truly wanted to kill Anlan first before returning, shocking everyone with his bold declaration. The people of Imperial Pass were greatly excited, while the army from the other side was stunned that someone would dare speak so arrogantly to Anlan. The mysterious man then contemplated whether he should actually kill Anlan, causing everyone to tense up. Anlan told him that he had little time remaining in this time-space and should return, expressing his belief that they would meet again in the future and eventually fight. Shudo then appeared and explained that because the two belonged to different time spaces, a real battle could cause the heavens to collapse, the earth to cave in, and time itself to become chaotic, potentially causing everything to cease to exist. Both sides therefore restrained themselves. Anlan also noticed the blood covering the mysterious expert and realized that he had powerful enemies in his own time-space. The mysterious expert explained that only through such brutal battles could one temper an unmatched body and remain undefeated throughout the long river of time. At this moment, Xianxia appeared on Imperial Pass city wall. She was normally extremely mysterious and rarely appeared, even when Shi Hao had been handed over to the other side. Yet upon seeing the man standing on the cauldron, she became deeply emotional and shed tears. Her body seemed unstable and indistinct until an immortal bell imprint gently swayed and helped her calm down. The mysterious man sighed and acknowledged that because they belonged to different time spaces, neither of them could change the other's fate or do anything about it. He then revealed that this was not his first journey across the long river of time. He had crossed it before, but that time, like this one, he had failed to reach the era he truly wanted to witness. However, during his previous journey, he had discovered a drop of blood resembling his own that belonged to this great era. The blood had once followed him but mysteriously returned to this world. His revelation shocked the others. The witch on Imperial Pass immediately remembered that during the struggle among the geniuses of the 3,000 provinces, Shi Hao had discovered a drop of blood in the all-life earth of the immortal ancient remains and obtained it. At that time, she had personally seen a cauldron identical to the one beneath the mysterious expert. And that drop of blood had fallen from the cauldron. The witch stared toward Shi Hao with a serious expression, shocked by the possibility that the mysterious drop of blood was carried within his body. On the city wall, Shi Hao also appeared absent-minded, his eyes vacant yet incredibly deep, as if his soul had temporarily left his body. His consciousness seemed to travel through different time spaces and wander across the endless heavens, as though mentally returning to a mortal ancient. Above his head, immortal energy formed three great Tao flowers. The first remained unchanged, with a small figure seemingly representing the past. On the second, the little figure struggled free from its restraints of origin energy. On the third, an indistinct figure suddenly appeared for the first time, seeming to come from the future. And it even turned around to look at Shi Hao's true body. At the same time, Xianxia behaved strangely as tears continuously flowed from her face. She stared at the mysterious expert standing on the great cauldron, who clearly noticed her. In the battlefield, Anlan calmly declared that whether it was 1, 10, or 100 drops of blood made no difference. He warned the mysterious expert that remaining in this time-space for too long would harm his body and that even if he refused to let him leave, his body would eventually perish. Anlan then pushed upward with one hand, causing the original Emperor city to tremble. The mysterious expert turned toward Anlan and drove his great cauldron forward until it nearly struck him, provoking him with laughter. The foreign army was shocked that someone dared to challenge Anlan, their supreme faith, and shouted for him to be killed. Anlan immediately thrust out his golden ancient spear, aiming directly at the mysterious expert. The confrontation became extremely tense, as a battle involving the long river of time seemed ready to erupt. The mysterious expert released immense blood energy that illuminated the heavens and caused the river of time to tremble. Realizing the danger, Anlan ordered the foreign army to retreat, knowing that a clash between beings from different time spaces could destroy the original trajectory of history. The mysterious expert's great cauldron erupted with terrifying power, while his fist slowly descended toward Anlan. The foreign army and the golden-backed barbaric bull retreated in panic, while Anlan released his undying king aura to protect the beings below. The mysterious expert's fist and Anlan's spear approached each other slowly. Yet the resulting power created terrifying manifestations between heaven and earth. Cracks appeared throughout the world, and the figures of the creatures on the Great Desert and Imperial Pass became increasingly indistinct. Shudo finally shouted for them to stop, because even without truly clashing, their confrontation was already affecting history and could potentially change this segment of the past. At that moment, the great cauldron trembled and developed numerous bloody traces, while the figures throughout the battlefield continued fading. Then, a dazzling light erupted from Imperial Pass as Shi Hao released a low roar. A brilliant drop of blood suddenly emerged from his body. The blood expanded into a vast sea, releasing unmatched power that shook Imperial Pass and the Great Desert before rapidly contracting and passing through the 3 great Dao flowers above Shi Hao's head. When it passed through the first flower, the small figure representing the past suddenly opened its eyes. When it passed through the second flower, the small figure that had struggled free became even more comfortable, with the origin energy now protecting it. When it passed through the third flower, the previously blurry figure suddenly became completely clear, releasing power that shook heaven and earth. Shi Hao roared as his black hair fluttered, his eyes becoming vacant as if he had transformed into another person. Several reincarnation imprints then appeared on his body and gathered above his head. Displaying profound reincarnation mysteries, they rotated around the 3 small figures before the 3 figures fused together. Finally, the mysterious drop of blood entered the fused figure and, through it, entered Shi Hao's true body. Holy radiance surged from him, and his body burned like a war god reborn from flames, seemingly revived from the endless past. Divine light then appeared again, as if connected to the future and borrowing unmatched divine power before pouring it into his body. Everyone was stunned by the transformation. Anlan described the drop of blood as extremely strange and sinister, his expression becoming solemn as he recognized its extraordinary nature. The mysterious expert on the cauldron rose into the heavens and stood before the crack in the long river of time, silently watching. After the drop of blood merged with the 3 figures, absorbed the reincarnation imprints, and entered Shi Hao's true body, Shi Hao became completely different. No one could recognize him as the former Huang. His aura became extremely fierce, his eyes sharp and terrifying, and the light in them resembled immortal swords that could not be looked at directly. Countless symbols revolved around his body as though they could crush the world. With a single leap, he directly appeared outside Imperial Pass without using the transportation formation, and even Imperial Pass Supreme Protective Formation could not stop him. Someone immediately judged that this was no longer Huang, but the existence represented by that drop of blood. Shi Hao then spoke with overwhelming majesty, questioning who could claim to be unmatched or invincible, saying that even during the Age of Emperor collapse, such a scene had never been witnessed. Anlan coldly recognized that the drop of blood had been obtained by Shi Hao. Shi Hao calmly confirmed it. When Anlan questioned whether even a drop of blood dared to act recklessly before him, Shi Hao firmly declared that if Anlan insisted on acting, he would be suppressed.